Hey, welcome to the David Lee Show. This is your host, Dr. David Lee Asbery. Listen, if this is your first time listening to the David Lee Show, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. The David Lee Show is sponsored by Fixing Fathers Incorporated, where fathers help fathers to be better fathers, Men's Resource, which Great to Be a Dad, and McKay's Custom Clean. That's customized cleaning for your individual needs. Listen, today I am so excited. I am elated. I am just thrilled to have on the show today Miss Cozbi Cabrera. How are you doing? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you here today.
Yes. It's been a long time coming, and here we are. So I am going to dive right into it because I know there's some listeners out there that want to know so much about what you do, how you do it, and how you get it done. So, well, let's start with the illustration. What inspires you to start illustrating and writing children's books? What was it that said, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, it's really interesting because the thing about a children's book, it's really storytelling at its most basic, fundamental. Yeah. And I think that all of us sort of use stories and have heard stories growing up, have sat around the table and heard stories. Right. And so we're compelled and we're drawn to stories. We always have been. And I think that's how we make sense of life and its many complexities even, and the things that we attempt to sort out. And no different for children. But what I love about children's stories is it gets down to the very basic elemental aspects of things,
Right. Well, one thing though that I can say though, a lot of folks, right, they have the stories in them, right?
Yeah.
But it's the other piece of, getting a publisher or if they're going to self-publish it and getting all that done. So where does all of that inner strength come to get it, to get to the finish line? Because that's what I think holds a lot of folks back that want to do what you're doing.
I see. So so the thing about stories is you've got to write them down, it's got to be captured somewhere. Right. And it's so that writing process, it's a process. So I think that anyone attempting to get a children's book published should first, write the story down, perhaps read it to a group of children, and that's when you get to notice what they're responding to. So you get your feedback loop going there, and they'll be really honest about it because when they're not interested, they're really quick to let you know.
Oh yeah, that's funny because like you said, you got to be ready for that honesty because they're not like us, they're going to be like,
So what's really great about that, like no matter what's written, you can always rewrite it. You can always, and I think like the best stuff happens in the reiteration, through the editing process. And so that's what makes things come to life. So just put your story down, be willing to, adjust it and finesse it a little bit, and then bring it to an audience, however informally, and the audience will respond or not respond. And then you get to know which are the areas when their eyes start glazing over, which are the areas that you want to work on.
That is something that a lot of us, we write something, right? And then we want to stick with it. So you got to be able, I guess what you're saying is basically you got to be able to be flexible and make those changes that need to be made if you want your
totally. And so like treat nothing as precious because it's the story itself that's precious. And so you got to be willing to tell it in the way that sort of highlights the value of that story, whatever that is.
We're gonna take that one. Treat nothing as precious. We're gonna snatch that from you. That's mine now. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take that from you. That is excellent. That is excellent. But treat nothing as precious. And be open for
and be willing to make those adjustments where needed. And so there's a whole publishing sort of like world and realm that's finally before it was really shut down by a lot of gatekeepers, and it's only now that there's an awareness, particularly in this climate, that all voices really do count and must be brought the table, you know, and not just for people of color, you know, but for all people, all people. And so there was a time when we knew that travel broadens you, you know, that it's not enough to exist in your own little bubble, you know. And so that's the beauty of books. Books allow you to get into the minds and culture and, you know, and ways of others, you know, and everyone should be afforded that, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, not just to see.
Yeah, just definitely take advantage of that and know that there is space for you in that room, right?
Yeah, totally. There is. And I think now even more so, you know, an awareness of its value.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's switch tracks. We'll come back to the books because, of course, I got a couple of them. I want to talk to you about these dolls, about the beautiful dolls that you created. So, what inspired you to say, "Hey, I want to create my own doll"? What inspired you to be so bold?
Yeah, well, you know, at one point I was going to a lot of antique shows and fairs, you know, and every now and then, amidst all of the white dolls, I would find a black doll, and a lot of the times that black doll had not been made in love. It had been made to kind of reinforce a particular stereotype, you know, and I remember walking out of there like always like so dejected, you know, like what is this feeling that's come over me? And it really was that from an anthropological point of view, if those were the only things that we could uncover, you know, if we were digging for evidence that people that look like you or I, you know, existed, like I wouldn't be happy. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy. So I found that really problematic that these were the objects that represented us, you know. And so I just decided I was going to make the sort of doll I wanted to see, you know, that had an aspect, an element of grace and beauty, you know, and elegance and like all the things that we are, the myriad things that we are as, you know, what I call God's creation, really.
That is absolutely beautiful. That is absolutely.
Yeah.
So was it, why don't you give me some of the roadblocks? I mean, was it sort of a simple thing, I want to do it and I'm doing it, or?
Yeah, so at the time I was design director at Sony Music because I have a background in graphic design and art direction. And so that was really my dream job, you know. I wanted to design for music. And finally, you know, through many iterations of designing for pharmaceutical advertising and a whole host of other things. Yeah, I got to music through Atlantic Records and then eventually Sony Music. Yeah, and so I started to make the dolls while I was there, and oftentimes I wouldn't sleep because, you know, there's a lot of detail in there. So I decided I was just going to quit my dream job to do the dolls, you know. And that was crazy because I really didn't know what I was stepping into. And I had a mortgage and like other things to be responsible for. So that's the beauty of what I say again, the feedback loop, you know, because I originally was taking them to market through doll shows. And I noticed that all of the people that were purchasing the dolls weren't necessarily doll people. They were more or less art collectors. And so that's the beauty of like getting to the market. The marketplace will give you the information you need to make your adjustments and to pivot where need be. And so at that point, I decided I would bring them to market through juried craft shows, you know, like very high level craft shows where there's a jury to say whether you can be in or not be in. Yeah, because you're looking for like really sort of like top drawer, you know. So that's how I brought them to market ultimately.
Wow. So I'm still caught up on I just left my job and oh my goodness, that's.
Yeah. So then I had to determine what my baseline was, meaning like how much I needed to produce, what I needed to sell them for, and all of these things to make my monthly nut. So effectively, I was now, though impassioned, I was in business.
Yes,
And
yes, yes, because that's the
so
piece right there. That passion could lead to all sorts of things if you don't know the
right,
business side or you're not ready for it. So do you feel like okay, so the passion pushed you.
yeah, it did.
Were you on that other side, on that business side, were you like
Yeah.
ready on that business side, or was it sort of, you know,
So I think because I have an uncle who's like definitely, was like the born entrepreneur,
right,
extraordinary, charismatic, and like just he could rattle off all of the numbers and tell you exactly what your percentage you need to set aside for workers' comp and all of these things.
right,
And so I looked at him and thought, oh, he's a business person. I'm
right,
not a business person per se, but that's where we gain our legs, and we also gain in education, however practical it is, as we begin to go. We're literally at times even building road, because the thing is, no matter how much you think you're prepared, until you actually meet the marketplace,
right.
and get the information from the marketplace, you're only making suppositions, really.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right, right,
yeah,
right, right. So you don't really
yeah.
know until you're in the mix and you
Yeah,
start
until
learning
you
things.
get
Yeah,
it. Yeah, that's when it's more important not to be knowledgeable, entering knowledgeably,
right.
as it is be keen enough to take in, to process, to be able to analyze what's going on, and to be
Mhm.
able to make really good decisions.
So when they were looking at the dolls, right, how long did it take for them to say, we love it? I mean, was it pretty much your first go, or did you have to continuously submit? How did that go?
People responded to them almost immediately at
Yeah.
that point. I think they
Your
really.
timing too, you were probably in a really good space. That need was there to see something like this.
So the thing is, that's the thing, no one knows, even because nobody was necessarily asking for the types of dolls that I was doing.
Right,
But when you create something, oftentimes people then recognize, oh my God, this is the thing that's been missing, without
right.
even knowing it. It's like it definitely touched people on a very almost like soulish realm in a way.
Well,
Like,
it touched them like it
yeah,
touched you, basically,
yeah,
right? You
exactly,
felt it,
exactly.
you felt it,
Yeah.
and too, and here we are.
Yeah,
Um,
and so it's really funny because these were black dolls, but a lot of the people that even would see them, they weren't black. Some of them were like had grown up in the South and had seen nothing but the white women from the South, even, who
right,
were like
right.
touched by this, because I think that we all of us possess a piece of the grand human story,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know and and when we don't excavate that and present it and give it out, everyone's missing a piece of the human story.
And then when
I
it's
mean,
presented to someone, it's exciting. They want
yeah,
more. They want
yeah,
more. What else can you do? What else can you give me? What else you got?
yeah.
Which is a perfect segue to this book here that I wanted to talk about first. So we got Me and Mama. So talk to me about, this is such a beautiful book. And like I said, and this is a plug. This is a plug to our fathers. Our fathers, we got like 30, we got 30 of each of her books, and we are giving these things away. We are giving them away. I get such joy. I've given out about 8 books, and to
Oh,
be
wow.
able to be able to walk up to a mom, walk up to a dad, and just say, "Hey, listen, hold up, wait, wait, wait. I'm excited. Wait, I got something for you," and they don't know what it is. And I come back with the books. I tell you, this is why you do what you do. If I can just explain it to you, this is why you do what you do, because the looks on their face, and then they give it to the daughter or they give it to the son,
Yeah,
and it is just magic. And
yeah.
that is what you have created. So
Well, thank you, David. Yeah, so that book came about because my daughter was offering me a cup of water, my favorite cup, and and she put it on the ledge of the water cooler, and then used both of her thumbs to squeeze the spigot and like crash kaboom, right onto the ceramic tile. And I just thought about that because when I was that age to break something in our house, I
Yes.
mean, that was like, oh, run,
Oh.
coming after you, it's like it was a big thing. And so
Yeah.
I just think, because I came to motherhood a little later, I there was a recognition of how precious
Yeah.
that relationship is,
Right.
because it's
Right.
not something I can take for granted because I yearned for it,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so our children, it's like they're learning from us. They're even learn from us as we're reacting to things, And
Right.
so that's why in the story it says, Mama says sometimes things break, because it's just what it is.
Happens. Yeah, it happens. So I sensed that you were a child, maybe not, but you tell me. Maybe you were like a child that just kind of looked at folks or looked at situations
I
and kind of, what are you looking at? What are you looking? What? And this stuff is just laying in on your brain. Am I right or wrong? Am I wrong or what?
totally. And I was like one of those sickly kids, because
Me
I had
too. Me too. Yes.
so everyone was like running, and so nobody wanted me on their team, because they said I was like double-handed, and
Yeah.
so it's really funny. So I remember like coming home, after like saving the base on Ringo Livio, like
Yeah.
that was such a proud moment for me,
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
oh, surely they'd pick me for my team next time, for their team next time, it just didn't happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, like just very observant,
Yeah.
always like, looking and observing.
Are you still so has that changed? Because it can get a little weird to some people, but has that changed, and does it, and I'm assuming you incorporate a lot of that into your writing, but has
Yeah, I
that changed over time, or do you still feel like it's still there?
which part of it?
The observant part.
No, it's definitely it's a practice, really,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah. So it
Yeah,
is there. It just sticks with you. Uh,
yeah, yeah, for
so
sure.
so so that's me and Mama.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about, so I got them all. Hey, let's talk about this one here. This is a
And
great book, beautiful illustrations.
yeah,
My
yeah,
garden. So what inspired you to do this?
yeah. So people were always stopping me in the New York City streets, like asking me for hair advice, because they could see that my hair was
Yeah,
natural,
right.
and I remember my husband's like, wow, this is like very unusual. When we were dating, it's like, we'd walk down the street and somebody would ask me a question about hair, and hair care, and
Yeah.
sometimes the subway door would be closing and people were still taking notes,
Oh, God.
yeah, it's just like, yeah, just extreme. But one day, this white mom actually asked me about what she could do for her daughter's hair because she had adopted, a Black child,
Right.
and so I mentioned the distinction of oil, and she looked at me a little bug-eyed,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
oil is something you take away, it's not something you deliberately put in. For her hair type,
Right. Right.
um,
Right.
yeah, and so her daughter's hair was like very unkempt and a little linty. And so
Yeah.
I just thought one day she's gonna want to find some answers for herself.
Right.
And so I was inspired to write My Hair is a Garden.
It's
Um,
so
yeah,
great.
because we all come with like all of this incredible beauty, and at times we don't even know what to do for it, particularly if the traditions or the chain of tradition is broken,
Right. Right. It's
um,
not there
yeah,
anymore. Yeah. So you
okay,
have a map right now. You have a book out there that's just going to help so many.
yeah,
That is great.
yeah,
That is a
what's
great
unique
story.
about them, what's unique about them, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So I read, and you can correct me, but where did you go to school? You went to Parsons?
Parsons School of Design. I went to the Paris campus and finished up in the New York campus.
And you do all of your illustrations? You do pretty much, yeah? So
Yeah.
where's all of this done? Is this done in a, do you have a certain space you go to? Are you inspired by a room that you go to?
Yeah. So
How does the magic happen?
So it's really funny because, we moved to Illinois about 6 years ago, and a year ago, we moved to where we are now. And so my workspace is even smaller than it's usually has been, because I've always, in New York, I always had a space to work outside in a studio, as well as a home studio. And so, it's a tiny little room, and it has one window that faces a brick wall,
Yeah.
And so I always say, it doesn't matter like what you've got, it's like, just work with what you have, even if it's not your ideal space, if it's the dining room table, just like push some things aside, to make room for your work, but like, don't let space be a hindrance or a barrier,
Just basically just put the work in, right? Just
create.
Get to it. Just get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's so many folks that, and I hear this a lot. Oh, before I do this,
I know.
I have to get this certain camera. I have to get, and it's really, you're so right. It's really about the work,
Yeah, it is. And I remember, it's like, use what you've got,
Yeah.
take what you've got, use it, keep developing it, don't be afraid of the iterations, don't get stuck, just keep doing it. And something will happen along the way, for certain.
Now I want to bring this next book, which I think is wonderful. Look at that.
Oh, exquisite. Yeah. That was.
He has glasses like me. Look at that. This is so talk to me about this book, which I think is my favorite, but just talk to me a little bit about the inspiration and why and how did this come about?
So the manuscript came to me through Abrams' books, and I thought the prose was so beautifully written, and I had known about Gwendolyn Brooks as a little girl, were familiar with some of her more formal sonnets and that sort of thing, because that's what they were pushing back in those days, as opposed to free-form poetry. She did a lot of that as well. And so I thought it'd be a wonderful opportunity to learn more about her life and her person, and so I was able to find her personal materials at the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana campus. They have like all of her personal papers and her writing in her own hand, in the archives there. So I had to do a lot of research for the book, because it just even the time period, so an example is I needed to have her mailing a letter. It's like, what did mailboxes look like in the United States in the 1940s? And it turns out they weren't freestanding back then. They were typically affixed to a lamppost, for example. And so, like, to get all of those historical accuracies, it's like it was incumbent upon me to do the research to represent her well.
Well, all of that, just what happens? What happens to you? I mean, I guess the magic. So you gather all of this information, and then what happens? Does the with the illustrating and all of that just kind of comes out? And
so it's a process. So we start off typically with like some thumbnail sketches for direction, and that's where we're working out from an illustration point of view, all of the composition, to allow room for the type, to tell the story, and all of these things. These are decisions we make, fairly quickly, and not get so attached again to what our precious little hands have done, to be willing to reverse, to pivot, to change, to move things around. And so to treat it that way, to try to find the best way to tell the story visually. And you almost have to forget that there will be words, because you want to be able to have your page turns be the silent movie, that actually tell the story without the benefit of, the prose. And then once that works and everyone's in agreement, because it does go through an approval process, with the publisher, the editor, by then the writer does weigh in. And in traditional publishing, they usually keep the writer and the illustrator separate from each other, because they don't want the writer to begin to suggest to the illustrator what to do, instead of getting the full benefit of the illustrator's imagination, to imagine what the book could be, So
that's interesting. These are the little things that folks don't know. I had no clue. I would think that you would be sitting down at the table with this person, but you didn't even. So when did
So she and I didn't even meet until after the book was published, and we were then about to go on book tour, but then COVID happened. And so we had to pivot for that. So we were just.
So when you say you didn't meet, did you have conversation? Did you have discussion? No. Nothing. So everything was your research, her manuscript. Well, her manuscript prompted you to go get the research.
Totally.
Into that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you create.
Yeah, and for certain historical figures, there isn't a lot of pictorial reference, like there's one scene where I had to represent her at her wedding. And I couldn't assume just to do a wedding cake, the bride and the groom, like, your typical wedding cake topper, it's like, so it was incumbent upon me to do the reading, because there was no picture of her in her wedding. So, I found one little obscure reference where she said she got married in her parents' home, and then in another little reference somewhere else that she had found a red dress for $19, that's where she wore, what she wore. And so just finding the clues and caring enough about her memory, her legacy, and her as a person to put that work in.
Yes, because what you could have done. It could have been easy. You could have just said, all right, I'm going to go for my own. But that is absolutely beautiful, and you did a wonderful job. You did a wonderful job.
She's deserving. Yeah.
I am going to ask you this last question, and this is for those young girls out there, young boys out there, and men and women that, and you kind of touched on it, but I want to go back again, because I'm pretty sure that there are folks out there that want to know. What advice would you give to an inspiring author, and what advice would you give to inspiring illustrators out there? Because there are so many folks that want to do what you do, and I've met so many people that just get stuck by those things that we talked about. Oh, I need a bigger room. Oh, I need this. Oh, I don't have the right paintbrush. Oh, So for someone who has done it, right? For someone who has done it, what can you give to them?
Yeah. So I say the best thing they can do is to hone their craft, because nobody's going to take that away from you. Right. Honing your craft really does open up doors, because what you don't want to have is a situation where the doors are open, but you're not ready.
Yeah.
So get ready, find the writers group, take the class, put the book dummy together, so if you're a writer, you could put a book dummy together. You doesn't have to, you don't have to have the illustrations. All you need to do is, see where the page breaks might be, put something together, like bring it to life, make it real. And then there are lots of different organizations that would be willing to allow you to take the workshops. Like there's the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI. and they have regional chapters everywhere. So find your local chapter.
Right.
There's Highlights Foundation. There's the Quayle Journal, which is an amazing resource for illustrators and writers of color that actually does a children's book conference every year. And so I would definitely, and I'll provide the spelling and all of that for you.
Yeah. Okay, we can put it in the notes. Yep.
But like, meet the people, you know, that you can get your questions answered, but there's no need in this day and age to work in the dark.
Right.
You don't have to.
Yeah, there's folks out there that want to help and want to help you make your vision come to light. Yeah,
absolutely. And because your voice is needed, it really is.
There's so many that are needed, and folks that I'm talking to, you know, these are great ideas, but just a lot of these stops that they put in there, you know, and these are stops that they're putting on themselves, you know what I mean? And myself also. I mean, it's not just writing, but it's just that I can come up with so many reasons not to do what I need to do. No problem with that. I can't do this because of that, you know, and then once in a while you just have to get to that point where, you know, throw everything to the side and say, all right, it's time to get the pen out and the pencil. That's all you need.
Exactly.
And do it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think of like the photographer Cartier-Bresson who took pictures in the middle of wartime, you know, and he didn't have a fancy dark room. He had to go into the bathroom of the hotel, you know, if he was even in the hotel, you know, and shut the lights, you know, and put a towel, you know, under the door to, you know, to darken the place. And, you know, like right where he was, you know, just like do the work. So use what you have, you know, get as much information as you can, but let the research be secondary, because research can also be another delay tactic where it's like, oh, I've got to get all the information and then I'm going to take action. It's like, take your action, you know, and don't be afraid to make some mistakes. You know, that's all part of the learning process. And the matter is, it's all process, all of it.
Wow. Well, thank you. And I'm sure my listeners are going to really be happy about that. And like I said, these are beautiful books. Contact Dr. Asbery at 718-288-0768. And we have them, and we are going to get more, and we're going to keep this going because we're looking for some grants. And these are my books. I want to get some dolls. So you have to talk to me about what I need to do. Because we have this new program where we started last month. We had 7 young African-American girls come, and we got some facilitators, and they were talking about basically self-esteem. And this would be beautiful for them to see, even though they're older, just to see that this is something that they can create. Their voices are important, and that they can create. So I am so excited, and I just want to push all your stuff because your stuff is fabulous.
And I'm excited about the work that you're doing, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny because sometimes we ignore the basic building blocks, you know, like self-esteem and confidence, and that's the kind of the container that, you know, allows you to pour in and allow for whatever's pouring in to flourish and to take root, you know. And so, yeah, I'm so glad you're not ignoring that you're.
Oh no, it's so important, because that's a part of my life too, you know, just being able to set yourself and bring yourself, step out, you know what I mean? You know, as an introvert, you know, it is difficult for me to even go somewhere. It used to be, you know, somebody talking about, oh, let's go to a networking party. Oh no, I don't. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be home. And I noticed that when I do step out, opportunity. And that's not why I step out all the time, but when I'm stepping out, no one seems to know that I'm an introvert. But when I do step out, and I'm excited, and I'm excited about the event, you know, I guess all of that leaves, and I've gotten opportunity because of that. So you would think I would step out even more, but then that introvert comes back. No, No, I don't want to go tonight. I'll be at the hotel. You guys go ahead and enjoy yourself. That's who I am. So I'm battling with that. And I know so many folks that battle with that, you know.
That's true. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was an introvert, you know.
There you go. There you go.
Public person, you know. And so we straddle. It's okay, you know. It's a dance.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. But once again, thank you so much for doing this. I hope that we can talk again about all of your new stuff. Let's talk about anything new on the horizon. What do we have coming out?
Yeah, so this I have this with me right now. So this came out I think in April, this past April. It's a doyen of Southern cooking, Edna Lewis, you know, just an incredible grande dame. And so I didn't know that much about her. I had seen pictures of her because she's on a postage stamp, you know, prior to, so it gave me the opportunity to learn a little bit more about her working on the project. And then I have another book that's coming out in the spring of 2024. It's called Brown Girl, Brown Girl. And later on that year, Me and Papa is coming out as well.
All right.
Okay.
The first one that you just showed, the first one that you just showed the picture, that is coming out or is out?
Oh, so this one's out. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's out. Yeah.
Okay.
And this
it looks, is it big? Is it big like the other books, or
it's about
the same size?
In that one. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Yeah.
All right, yeah, we're gonna get that book. Okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry, I didn't know that was out already. So we'll work on getting a couple copies of that too. Like I said, we want to support you because we love you. We want to support you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. David Asbery, for having me and inviting me. It's great being in conversation with you, and I hope we can talk again soon.
Yes, we will. And that's it, folks. Thank you so much, everyone. And please remember, at Fixing Fathers, we live to laugh, we live to learn, and we live to love our children by any means necessary. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.